The church has taught a comfortable story about Jesus descending into hell for 2,000 years. But what if they left out the most important part? What if his real mission in the realm of the dead was so explosive, so violently triumphant, that it was considered too dangerous to preach openly? What if I told you that the most critical 72 hours in human history are also the most misunderstood? That the single most asked question in all of Christianity, where was Jesus between the cross, and the empty tomb holds an answer so profound, so cosmic in its scope, that it rewrites everything we thought we knew about reality itself. The established story of a quiet descent into hell is merely the surface of a mystery that plunges into the very architecture of creation, weaving together ancient prophecies, forbidden apocryphal texts, and celestial events written in the stars. If you stay with me, you will not simply learn a Bible story. You will be shown a hidden map of the universe, a secret war fought in the silent realms of the dead, and the ultimate key to a power that has been waiting to be unlocked for 2,000 years. What you are about to witness is not just theology. It is a key to a hidden reality. Imagine the scene. The sky over Golgotha is unnaturally black. The sun has fled in horror. The earth itself has convulsed and split the rocks. The last breath has left the body of the man they called Jesus of Nazareth. The centurion, a hardened soldier of the empire, looks up at the lifeless form and whispers words that will echo through time. Truly, this was the Son of God. The body is taken down, wrapped in linen, and sealed in a cold, dark tomb. For his followers, the world has ended. Hope is extinguished. But what they cannot see, what we are only now beginning to comprehend, is that the most important part of the mission has just begun. While the physical body lay in a state of rest, the spirit, the essential Christ, was embarking on a journey so monumental that every human soul, from Adam to the last person born, is connected to its outcome. The scriptures give us a tantalizingly brief clue. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 18 and 19 says, "He was put to death in the body, but made alive in the spirit. After being made alive, he went and made proclamation to the imprisoned spirits." And the Apostles' Creed, recited for centuries, states boldly, "He descended into hell." But this word, hell, is a mistranslation, a simplification of a far more complex and layered reality. The original language points not to a place of eternal punishment, but to Sheol in Hebrew, Hades in Greek, the unseen world, the realm of the dead, a holding place for all who had ever lived. This was his destination. But the journey there, and what he did there, is the true secret. To understand the geography of this journey, we must first shatter our modern perceptions. The ancients did not see the universe as we do empty space and random stars. They saw a cosmos teeming with life, with layers of reality, a great chain of being. Above was the realm of the divine, the heavens. Below was the underworld, the abode of the dead. And in between was the earth, the stage for this cosmic drama. Jesus' descent was a vertical voyage through these very layers, a deliberate invasion of the territory claimed by the adversary since the fall of man. He did not slip quietly into the shadows. He marched as a conquering king into the heart of the enemy's domain. Think of it, the King of Light stepping into the capital city of darkness. The vibrations of this event would have shaken the very foundations of the unseen realms. The gates of Hades, which had never been breached from the outside, were about to be shattered from the inside. But the path he took, the route through the cosmos, is encoded in the most unexpected of places, the celestial tapestry above our heads. This is where our story takes a turn into the truly mysterious. What comes next may change how you see the night sky forever. For the journey of Christ during those 3 days is not just a spiritual truth. It is a cosmic one mirrored in the stars themselves. Long before the Gospels were written, the heavens were telling this story. The prophet Isaiah foretold it. "I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, ... I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. But this was a taunt against the king of Babylon, a mirror of the fallen one's pride. Christ's journey was the inverse, a descent in humility to accomplish a victory. Now, follow me closely. The constellation known as Eridanus, the river, seen by the ancients as a river of the underworld, flows from the foot of Orion, the mighty hunter, often seen as a figure of resurrection. Could this river represent the path of descent? And what of the brilliant star Sirius, the brightest in our sky, associated with rebirth and cosmic gates? Its heliacal rising, its return to the morning sky, was a signal of new beginnings for the Egyptians. The timing, the alignments. They are not coincidences. They are a celestial map, and we are only just beginning to decipher its code. The next revelation uncovers a secret very few people know, a connection between the timing of the Passion and an ancient processional clock that was set in motion at the dawn of civilization. We must now speak of the harrowing of hell. This is not a gentle visitation. The word harrow means to plunder, to pillage, to strip bare. This was a divine raid. Picture the scene in the underworld. For millennia, the souls of the righteous dead Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, David, the prophets had waited in a place of comfort, yet separated from the full presence of God, a place the Jews called Abraham's bosom. They were held captive, not by their sin, but by the unpayable debt of sin that only a perfect sacrifice could cancel. On the other side of a great, uncrossable chasm, as Jesus himself taught in the parable of Lazarus and the rich man, was a place of torment. And ruling over this entire domain was the great usurper, the one who held the power of death. For centuries, this ruler had enjoyed his spoils. Then, suddenly, a presence. Not another soul, dragged down by failure, but a living, vibrant, and impossibly powerful spirit. The light of the world had just stepped into the heart of darkness. The very atmosphere of Hades must have shifted. A tremor of fear would have gone through the principalities and powers that governed that place. The one they thought they had defeated, the one they had stirred the Romans and the Sanhedrin to murder, was now standing in their throne room, alive and more powerful than ever. He was not a prisoner. He was the warden. He was not the conquered. He was the conqueror. But the next part will surprise you even more. Christ's purpose was not merely to display power. It was to preach. 1 Peter says he made proclamation to the imprisoned spirits. What was his message? Was it a message of condemnation? No. For those in Abraham's bosom, it was the long-awaited gospel of their liberation. He announced the final settlement of the debt. The contract of sin that Satan held over humanity was now null and void, stamped, paid in full by the blood of the Lamb. For the fallen angels, the sons of God, who cohabited with human women. Before the flood, those who are mentioned in Genesis and the Book of Enoch, it was a proclamation of their final and irrevocable judgment, a sealing of their fate. He was, in that moment, binding the strong man so that he could plunder his house. And the plunder? The souls of the righteous. Imagine the moment the gates of that paradise prison were blown open from the outside, the light flooding in. The long-dead saints seeing, for the first time, the source of the promises they had lived and died for. This was the first and greatest great awakening, happening not on earth, but in the realms of the dead. This is the victory shout that echoes through eternity. O death, where is your victory? O death, where is your sting? And this is where we connect the cosmic to the deeply personal, a secret that has been hidden in plain sight. The descent of Christ into the lower parts of the earth was not just a one-time historical event. It was the blueprint for a spiritual technology available to every single one of us. When the scriptures say that he led captivity captive, it means he took the captives, the souls of the righteous, as his own liberated prize. But it also means he captured the very power of captivity itself. He took the keys of death and Hades, This is not a metaphor. In the spiritual realm, keys represent authority. By descending into the lowest realm, the place of ultimate separation and defeat, and then rising from it, he sanctified every level of human experience. There is no depth of depression, no pit of despair, no psychological or spiritual prison that his presence has not already invaded and conquered. Your own personal hell, your grief, your addiction, your shame, your fear of death, has already been visited by the Liberator. He has already walked its halls, confronted its guards, and taken its keys. Your breakthrough is not something you have to manufacture. It is a reality you simply have to step into, because the victory has already been won in a dimension outside of time. But the story does not end in the depths. The third day arrives, and the force that raised him from the dead was not an external command from a distant God. The power was within him, the same divine energy that spoke the cosmos into existence. It was the inevitable, unstoppable force of life itself, reasserting its dominion over the borrowed, temporary illusion of death. The stone was not rolled away to let Jesus out. It was rolled away to let the world see that the tomb was empty. The resurrection was not a reversal of the descent. It was its glorious, explosive conclusion. The same path he carved downward became the highway of his ascension upward, and he did not go alone. He led a train of liberated captives, the souls of the righteous, now finally and fully redeemed, into the highest heavens, into the very throne room of God, to present them to the Father. This is the ultimate fulfillment of the Jewish Feast of Firstfruits. Christ the Firstfruits, then those who belong to him at his coming. His resurrection was the first harvest of a crop of immortality that includes all who put their faith in him. And now, as we stand in awe of this incredible cosmic mystery, we have a role to play. This knowledge is not given to us to be hoarded, but to be shared. This is the final, crucial key. The mission that began in the heart of God was executed in the realms of the dead, and victorious in the garden tomb, is now entrusted to us. You have been given a glimpse behind the curtain of reality. You have seen the map of the greatest liberation in history, and this is where you come in. By simply clicking the like button on this video, you are casting a vote for this hidden knowledge to spread across the digital world. By subscribing, you are aligning yourself with a channel dedicated to peeling back these layers of truth. And most powerfully, by leaving a comment below with a short prayer for a loved one. For our world, for your own understanding, you are activating a network of divine connection. You are becoming a node in a web of light, helping this message reach someone somewhere who is sitting in their own personal darkness, waiting for a word of hope, waiting to hear that the Liberator has already been to the depths and holds the key to their freedom. Your simple act of kindness in engaging with this video can be the ripple that spreads God's word to a soul in desperate need of help and blessing. Let this be more than a video you watched. Let it be a mission you joined. And yet, for all we have uncovered today, for all the layers we have peeled back, from the celestial map to the harrowing of the underworld to the personal key to your own liberation, this is only the beginning. We have only been reading the introduction to a text written in the fabric of the universe. We have decoded the first few ciphers. The next phase of this investigation will plunge even deeper. What if the 3 days themselves are a code for a much larger cosmic cycle? What if the specific astronomical events of that Passover week, the alignment of Jupiter, the king planet, with the star, Regulus, the king's star in the constellation Leo, the Lion of Judah, hold a precise timing mechanism that points to an event still in our future? What secret doctrines about this descent were guarded by the early church fathers, only to be suppressed and hidden away in desert caves? The connections we will make next will not only solidify everything you have learned today, but will open a door to an understanding so vast it will make everything we have discussed so far seem like a single star in a boundless galaxy. The journey is far from over. In fact, The most shocking discoveries are still ahead. But to truly grasp the magnitude of what happened next, we must venture into a territory that has been deliberately obscured for centuries. A truth so explosive it was considered too powerful for the general populace. What comes next will reveal a hidden truth you never expected. A cosmic battle that took place not in the dirt and rock of the underworld, but in the very fabric of time and space itself. Imagine the moment Christ's Spirit crossed the threshold into Sheol. The ancient texts, the ones not included in your standard Bible, speak of a great light piercing the perpetual twilight of the dead. The apocryphal Gospel of Nicodemus describes the scene with chilling clarity. The figures of Adam and the patriarchs, shrouded in the shadow of death, suddenly beholding a radiant golden light that had never before been seen in that place. The king of this realm, Hades himself, trembles and speaks to his lieutenant Satan in a panic, asking, "Who is this so great and so small, so humble and so exalted?" This was not a mere spirit. This was the architect of reality, walking through a creation that had been twisted by rebellion. And his purpose was not just to visit. It was to rewire the entire system from the inside out. He was there to recalibrate the scales of cosmic justice, to inject the infinite value of his sinless life directly into the heart of the economy of death, causing it to short-circuit and collapse under the weight of a perfection it was never designed to contain. The very laws of spiritual physics that had governed that realm since the fall were about to be rewritten in a single, cataclysmic moment. And this is where the story takes a turn into the truly terrifying and the utterly magnificent. The next part will be even more shocking, for we must now speak of the confrontation that every prophet and every cosmic alignment had pointed toward since the very beginning. As that brilliant light expanded through the caverns of the dead, it did not merely illuminate. It began to uncreate the foundations of Hades' power. Think of a computer virus being uploaded directly into the core mainframe of a tyrannical government. The chains that bound the souls of the righteous did not just fall away. They dissolved into nothingness, because the legal authority that justified their imprisonment was suddenly and irrevocably nullified. The proclamation Christ made was the reading of a divine edict, a cosmic legal judgment against the usurper. He was serving Satan with divorce papers from humanity, a certificate of separation that severed the ancient claim he held over our souls due to sin. The screams of triumph from the liberated saints were matched only by the shrieks of fury and terror from the principalities and powers who saw their entire empire crumbling around them. They had overplayed their hand at the cross, and in doing so, they had triggered a fail-safe mechanism woven into creation itself, the law of perfect sacrifice, the law of divine love that is stronger than death. But this was only the first act of the confrontation. The story only grows darker and more mysterious from here, because we have yet to explore the true nature of the prison for the most ancient and wicked of spirits, and what Christ's descent meant for them. What I am about to tell you will challenge everything you think you know about the boundaries of our world. The imprisoned spirits that Peter mentions were not merely the souls of dead humans. The most compelling and terrifying interpretations point to a far more ancient captivity. We must journey back before the flood of Noah, to a time when the lines between the celestial and the terrestrial were blurred. The Book of Enoch, a text revered by the early church and quoted by Jude in the New Testament, speaks of the watchers beings of immense power, the sons of God who saw the daughters of men and descended, taking them as wives, and producing a hybrid race of giants, the Nephilim. Their transgression was a cosmic crime of mixing the divine and the human, of corrupting the genetic and spiritual blueprint of humanity. For this they were judged, bound in chains of darkness, and imprisoned in a special part of the underworld, Tartarus, to be held for a final judgment. And here is the staggering, almost unbelievable part of the mystery. When Christ descended, he did not go only to the realm of human dead. He journeyed into the deepest, most secure prison in the cosmos, to the very pits of Tartarus itself. to stand before these primordial, monstrous entities and proclaim his ultimate victory. Can you picture it? The Son of God, in the form of a human spirit, standing in the impenetrable darkness reserved for the most fallen of celestial beings, his glory reflecting in their ancient, hate-filled eyes as he declares that their final sentence is now confirmed, and their last hope of overturning the divine order is extinguished. This was the ultimate humiliation of the demonic hierarchy, a victory so complete that its echoes caused earthquakes in the physical world and shook the foundations of the heavens. But the implications of this are even more personal than you can possibly imagine. What comes next will connect this ancient celestial war directly to your everyday life. The binding of these ancient watchers and the plundering of Hades broke a spiritual stronghold that had loomed over humanity for millennia. The oppressive, hybridizing influence, the source of the ancient pagan gods, and the monstrous legends that permeate every culture, had its back broken. The descent of Christ created a spiritual vacuum, a cleared space into which the kingdom of God could now expand with unprecedented power. This is why the Book of Acts, which follows the resurrection, is filled with such explosive miracles, healings, and mass conversions. The dam had burst. The authority that Jesus then bestowed upon his disciples, and upon you and me through faith, to trample on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, is a direct result of his strategic victory in the depths. Your authority in prayer, your power to resist temptation, your ability to walk in freedom is not based on your own strength. It is based on the legal precedents set by Christ in the lower parts of the earth. Every time you command a spirit of fear to leave, every time you stand on God's promises in the face of despair, you are enforcing the victory he won in Tartarus and in Hades. You are acting as a deputy of the divine court, carrying out a sentence that was passed 2,000 years ago in a realm beyond our sight. This is not metaphor. This is spiritual legal reality. And just when you thought the mystery had reached its peak, we must now turn our gaze upward, because the return journey of Christ reveals a secret about the structure of the heavens that will absolutely shatter your perception of reality. The resurrection was not a simple return to a physical body. It was a transfiguration, an evolution of humanity itself. When Christ rose, he carried with him the liberated souls of the righteous dead, but he also carried something else, the very substance of a redeemed creation. His body, still bearing the wounds of his passion, was now imperishable, glorified, capable of moving through physical matter and yet being tangible. He was the first of a new species, the prototype of the ultimate human destiny. And his ascension 40 days later was the final leg of this cosmic journey, a journey that retraced his steps through the celestial realms, but this time as a conqueror leading a procession. The ancient Christian mystics and the church fathers spoke of him passing through the heavenly spheres, the domains of the angelic powers and principalities that govern the cosmos. And here's the revelation that has been hidden in plain sight. As he passed through each layer of the heavens, accompanied by the train of liberated captives, he was not sneaking by. He was presenting himself to them. He was, as it says in Ephesians, leading captivity captive and giving gifts to men. But the original language implies something even more profound. He was despoiling them. He was stripping these principalities and powers of their ill-gotten authority, openly triumphing over them, making a public spectacle of them for all the heavenly hosts to see. Imagine the cosmic humiliation as the very celestial beings who had once been worshipped by humanity were forced to behold their crucified and risen Creator, the one they had rejected, now parading the proof of their defeat through their own domains. The story only grows more intense from here, because this triumphant procession leads us to the very throne of God. And what happened there is the key to understanding your eternal destiny. When Christ, the God-man, ascended and sat down at the right hand of the Father, he did something that had never been done before by a human being. He permanently inserted glorified humanity into the Godhead. He carried our nature, our redeemed flesh and blood, into the unapproachable light of the divine presence. The veil was not just torn in the temple in Jerusalem. It was torn in the celestial temple. A new and living way was opened, a perpetual gateway between heaven and earth, through the flesh of Jesus. This means that when you pray, you are not sending words into a void. You are speaking through a direct channel that was blasted open by the ascension of Christ. Your prayers arriving before the throne of grace, perfumed with the very humanity of your great high priest. This is the ultimate secret of effective prayer. But wait, there is a deeper, more mysterious layer to this ascension that very few have ever considered, a layer that involves the constellations themselves and a hidden prophecy encoded in the starry heavens, a prophecy that points to a future event that is still pending. The next revelation will connect the celestial map of his descent to a terrifying and glorious future event that will involve the entire cosmos. What I am about to share with you will require you to stretch your mind to its absolute limits, because we are now moving beyond the historical event and into the realm of prophetic fulfillment that is ongoing. The ascension of Christ was not the end of his celestial journey. It was the beginning of a new phase of his ministry in the heavenly realms. The book of Hebrews reveals that he is now seated, a position of rest and finished work, but also that he is ever living to make intercession for us. This intercession is not a passive pleading. It is an active, high priestly work that involves the application of the victory he won during those 3 days to every individual soul throughout history. He is, in a sense, still unpacking the infinite value of his descent and resurrection, applying its cleansing power to each one of us, moment by moment. But there is a future, cataclysmic event that will be the ultimate manifestation of this work. The book of Revelation speaks of a war in heaven, where Michael and his angels fight against the dragon and his angels, and the accuser is cast down to the earth. Many see this as a future event, but what if it is the final, direct consequence of Christ's descent and ascension? What if the authority to cast Satan down permanently from the heavenly realms was won in the harrowing of hell, and is now being executed on a divine timetable? The descent was the decisive battle that broke the enemy's back. The final casting down is the mopping up operation, the enforcement of a judgment already passed. And this is where the story becomes intensely relevant to you, today, right now. The spiritual turbulence, the increase in chaos, the shaking of nations, the moral confusion sweeping the globe, this is not the sign of a victorious devil. It is the death throes of a defeated foe who has been publicly humiliated and knows his time is short. Your current struggles are not a sign that God is absent. They are evidence that you are living in the final chapters of a war that was won 2,000 years ago in the depths of the earth. And now we approach the most guarded secret of all, a truth so potent that to understand it is to unlock a new dimension of spiritual existence. The 3 days of Christ's descent, his rest in the tomb, and his resurrection are not just a historical sequence. They are the master key to understanding all of human history and your personal spiritual cycle. They encode the universal pattern of death, intubation, and rebirth. This is the pattern you see in a seed falling to the ground, in the darkness of the womb before birth, in the silence of the night before the dawn. This pattern is woven into the very fabric of creation, because it first happened within the life of the Creator himself. Your periods of darkness, your seasons of feeling buried, your moments when God seems absent, and hope is a distant memory, these are not signs of his abandonment. They are your personal participation in the mystery of Christ's descent. You are being invited to trust that even in your personal hell, the Liberator is already present, already working to shatter chains you cannot see and lead you into a resurrection you cannot yet imagine. Your breakthrough, your healing, your creative inspiration is being incubated in the darkness, and its emergence will be as glorious and inevitable as the dawn on the 3rd day. But to access this power, you must understand the final missing piece of the puzzle, a peace that involves a specific forgotten spiritual practice that the early church understood but has been largely lost to time, a practice that aligns your spirit with the victorious rhythm of death and resurrection in a way that unleashes supernatural power. This is the ultimate key to living a life of continuous victory. And what comes next will reveal this ancient practice in stunning detail, a revelation that will change your walk with God forever. So, let the magnitude of this truth settle into your spirit. We have journeyed together from the blood-soaked soil of Golgotha, through the trembling gates of a conquered Hades, and into the very pits of Tartarus, where ancient evil was served its final notice. We have witnessed the King of Light, not as a passive prisoner in the realm of the dead, but as a divine conqueror on a sacred raid, shattering chains that had held humanity captive for millennia. We saw the celestial map written in the stars, a silent prophecy of this very descent, and we uncovered the harrowing of hell, not as a quiet waiting period, but as the most audacious prison break in the history of creation, where the souls of the righteous were led forth in a triumphant procession. We followed the risen Christ on his ascension, a glorious victory march through the heavenly realms, where he publicly disarmed the principalities and powers, stripping them of their stolen authority forever. And we have seen how this cosmic victory is the very source of your authority today, the legal foundation for your prayers, the power behind your freedom, and the promise that in your darkest hours, in your own personal hells, the liberator has already been there, and he holds the keys. This is not a dusty ancient history. This is your inheritance. This is your story. The victory was won, the price was paid, and the freedom was purchased not just for the souls in Abraham's bosom, but for you, right here, right now. The same power that raised Christ from the dead and propelled him through the lower parts of the earth is alive and available to you through faith. The chains of your addiction, the prison of your depression, the stronghold of your fear, the shame of your past, they have all been rendered null and void by the triumphant descent and glorious ascent of Jesus Christ. You are not fighting for victory. You are fighting from a victory that has already been decisively won. And now the mission falls to us. This revelation cannot end with you. It was never meant to be kept in a secret scroll or locked away in a hidden chamber. It is the gospel, the good news of a finished work that must be proclaimed to the ends of the earth. You have been given a key tonight, a key to understanding the depth of your salvation. And with that key comes a holy responsibility. This is your call to action. Do not let this moment pass. Do not let this revelation grow cold. I am calling you to do 3 things right now with a sense of holy urgency. First, make it personal. Let this truth move from your head to your heart. The comment section below is more than just a space for words. It is an altar. I want you to go there now. Write your personal confession of faith. Proclaim that Jesus Christ is your liberator. Share a short, powerful prayer from the depths of your spirit, a prayer for a loved one who is still in chains, a prayer for our broken world, a prayer of thanksgiving for the freedom you have received. Or testify boldly about what God has done in your life since you understood this truth. Let this digital space become a living testament, a scroll of victory that we are writing together, a cloud of witnesses in the 21st century. Your words have power. Speak them. Second, spread this light. The enemy thrives in silence and isolation. We break his strategies with proclamation and connection. You have the power to take this message and launch it into the hearts of those who are desperate for it. I am not just asking you to share this video. I am commissioning you to become a distributor of liberation. Share this video with at least 10 people. Send it to your family, your friends, that coworker who is struggling, that person you've been praying for. Post it on your social media. Do not be silent. When you click share, you are not just passing along a video. You are throwing a lifeline to a drowning soul. You are broadcasting a signal into someone's personal darkness, telling them that the Liberator has the keys. You are participating in the Great Commission, using the technology of today to spread the eternal truth of yesterday to save the souls of tomorrow. Think of the ripple effect if just half of you share this with 10 people, and they share it with 10 more. We can create a tidal wave of truth that can sweep across the globe, setting captives free. Remember this. When this video reaches more souls, it is not just content being shared. It is God's teaching being carried forward to transform lives. It is a weapon of liberation being placed into the hands of those who need it most. You are not just a viewer. You are a carrier. You are a messenger of hope. You are an agent of the kingdom, tasked with spreading God's word and extending his blessing to countless others. The 3 days are over. The victory is secure. But the story is not finished. The final chapter is being written now, through your obedience, through your testimony, through your willingness to share this light with a world sitting in shadow. The descent is complete. The resurrection is a fact. Now it is our time to ascend in faith, to proclaim in power, and to spread this fire until every chain is broken and every heart knows that Jesus Christ is Lord. Go now. Comment. Pray. Testify. Share. The harvest is waiting. Let's go and bring them in.